I confess I haven't really taught data citation specifically, but this is something we need to discuss, and I think it would be nice to try and remember this during the studies, so that we mention every now and then whenever the moment is suitable. So, of course, data citation or citation in general is very important to support the FAIR principles. So we need to declare whoever has produced a data or a publication. So just as provenance information, and this is very fundamental to scientific workers, of course. And of course, we also need to cite because we need to attribute somebody for producing the content as a recognition of scientific merit. And sometimes also the license of the dataset might require us to cite the data. So this is why. And then there's the funding situation. So the funders and the governments want to measure our efforts, and at some point it might be that also data citation would count as some kind of indicator of our performance. So we just have to prepare ourselves for that, and the students need to prepare. So why should we teach these data citation practices? I still want to think that when you're in university, you should learn how to cite, how to use bibliographic references, for example, and that this is kind of in the core of scientific work. But I remember that when I was a university student and we had to write our first essays and term papers and theses and so forth, it seemed like learning how to build a bibliographic reference was some kind of mystical code that only big scientists know. And when I grew up in my university career, I actually noticed that it's a matter of choice. So when you need to cite, who you need to cite, and so forth. And it seems sometimes it's just going through the motions. You just put the reference, and sometimes people don't even read the paper that they are citing. Well, I try to do it always. If I don't, well, it's embarrassing to cite somebody who didn't read. But I would say that when you're citing datasets, the citation becomes suddenly much more functional. So actually the replicability becomes more important than when you're just using a bibliographic or citing an article or a publication or a book. But data citation practices are not yet well established, so we need to train ourselves and our students to do that. And of course, people are citing more and more data, and it's becoming more and more important because of AI. So we need to know about the source. So source criticism is kind of becoming the new thing. But is it easy to cite data? Not always. So there are a lot of repositories that offer citation instructions. You can just copy-paste them. You can put them in your own reference manager, and you can easily use these citations in your articles. But this is not always the case. You may find data sets. You find some people that look like the creators of the data, but you're not sure. You find a year when the data possibly appear, but you're not sure, and so forth. So in case the citation instruction is not immediately visible, the information should be included in the metadata at least, so that you can pick up the pieces and try to compile the citation yourself. But it's not that easy always. So here's the kind of model citation. This is from the Language Bank of Finland, so one resource. And CLARIN has recently, last year, published data citation guidelines, and the 5 colored pieces are included in the recommended citation. So creators, publication year, title and version, publisher and persistent identifier are kind of the recommended pieces. And if you have these, it's almost, well, it becomes more certain that you are actually able to find the very same resource later on. So the creators, that's just a list of persons who created the resource, who spent their time and effort to collect the data and to organize it and to put it together and to describe it. But it's a different thing as the publisher, so not to be confused with that. And it's not the original authors of all the individual texts are in a corpus, of course. It may also be different from their right holders, so it's not as simple as that. And also, if you collect, like if you make a CLARIN virtual collection, it's not always straightforward to just refer to the virtual collection, because there might be different creators for the different component data sets. And then you might be attributing things to the wrong people, so you have to be careful who you're citing, actually. So how to teach this, I don't know. Maybe you know better. The publication year, that might be easy. Sometimes it's not easy if it's a collection of different bits and pieces from various places. But if the metadata record is okay, then you can find the info. The title and version is okay, but sometimes people like to use their own titles for the same data. So if you're in a hurry to submit your paper and then the researcher just, oh, it's something I heard from a colleague and let's put this as a title. And unless there's a persistent identifier, you might not be able to find the resource that they're referring to. So the publisher is maybe a repository or entity who is kind of technically doing the publication. And the persistent identifier, this is maybe something that you want to tell your students about. So, like, it's persistent, supposed to be persistent. And sometimes even persistent identifiers are not persistent if nobody is curating them. So I'm afraid the world is already filled with broken PIDs, but CLARIN is not behind those. So CLARIN always takes care of the PIDs. There's a lot of questions to be answered, like how to cite accumulating resources, how to do that in a systematic way, how to refer to individual parts of a resource. What if we are using a terminology resource? How do we refer to a term, for example, and so forth? But CLARIN can promote data citation. So here's the link to the Data Citation Guidelines. And CLARIN can also try to promote the citation instructions on BLO, that this requires from technical work and collaboration with the metadata components. And meanwhile, we just have to teach the students to gather all the components for their citations. And maybe CLARIN could offer a page with some examples of different types of citations of data sets. So that was something I came up with, but maybe the breakout sessions will give us more examples.